right, make sure we're looking good here. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide. Welcome to another live video here on YouTube. In the past few videos, I've been showing you how to compare different things, and this is actually what helps your brain understand them better, all in English, so that you don't need to think or translate when you speak. When you really understand the language really well, when you really erase any doubt you might have about vocabulary or grammar or pronunciation or anything else, this is what allows you to communicate. All right, so let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about prepositions and looking at these in various ways. So we're going to talk, I've just got 3 levels of kind of stars over here. Hopefully this makes sense, but this is the kind of the lowest, most basic form of things, and we're going to talk about more figurative uses of these things. And then we'll talk about some phrases, some useful vocabulary. But all of these, understanding them together and understanding the slight differences between these should make it easier for you to understand them all together. All right, looks like chat is working here. Let me see if everybody's coming through over there. Umu and George and Silvana, nice to see you there. All right, glad people are enjoying the show. Make sure we're working over here. All right, so let's get right into it. We're gonna do this one a little bit differently than the previous videos where I was using a little grid here, just because I want to show you kind of lining these up, typically the way that natives would learn them. So usually native kids, they learn these basic meanings or basic uses of prepositions like this very early, and then they start learning more figurative uses, and then they learn how to make more interesting phrases or idioms, things like that come from these as well. So yes, let me know where you're from if you have any questions about these things as we go. I want to stay focused on the lesson, so especially if you have questions about these particular words or something related to this, let me know, but we should be good to go. All right, so I want to see if you can think of anything, just a very basic sentence where we're talking about something being physically inside something else. So all of these we're going to look at just basic physical ways and being able to compare one thing to something else, all right? So I'm going to draw just a very simple image here. We'll have a square with, where's my red over here? We'll put a little red circle inside that. Kind of looks like the Japanese flag, actually. I didn't intend to do that, but there you have it. I'll have to draw like a different flag for each one of these. But yeah, so we have a red circle or a red ball or whatever inside this space over here. So very simple, just we're talking about one thing being inside something else. So anytime, like I could talk about having a marker in my hand, or there is water in this bottle over here, or I could have like a little paper towel thing inside or in this bag. All right, very simple. So we're just talking about making sure people understand something being physically inside something else. Now we're going to look at these other ones over here as well. Look at that. I just said over here. We'll get to that in a moment. So talking about something as on, we can contrast this. Very simply, we will move our little space over here, and we're going to put this ball sitting on the square up here. All right, pretty simple. Now, I want to make it clear, though, that when we're talking about something being on something else, it doesn't only mean on the top. Like we could move this ball. I wonder if I have my magnets. I do not. I don't have any magnets over here today. But we could easily move this ball. The ball could be, like if you imagine a cube, something like that, or even the shirt that I'm wearing right now, this marker, it could be up here on my shirt. It could be stuck here on my shirt as well. So any place that's attached to something else, we can talk about it being on that other thing, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. I'm just giving one example here, but it could be other things like that. So even this, if I put this marker down here on my chin, so it's still attached to me over here, it's still stuck to my face in some way, even if it's not on the top, it's still talking about being on that thing, okay? So very simple. Now, if we want to move this slightly by talking about it being over that location, this is the same thing as being above in this image right here. So you can see a slight difference between where the ball is here. The ball is on this thing because it's touching, so it's stuck on that thing. But remember, it doesn't need to be on the top of that thing. It could be on any face or touching it in some way. But here we have some kind of space, so the ball is over this little square or this box. All right, pretty simple. Going through these, pretty easy. So these are all basic ones that everybody should know, but it's important to start from these because if you understand these really well, then you can understand these more difficult or more advanced ones. All right, and last one, when we're talking about through, this is usually talking about some kind of motion. So let's say we draw, I'll draw kind of a little, like a tube kind of thing like that. And we can imagine the ball going through that object. So if it's kind of moving like this, and we'll imagine there's a ball inside here and it's going through that object like that. So just like if I have a little tunnel or something like this, the marker is going through that tunnel, through that thing. So we've got some kind of going inside something else, but there's some motion happening. So one thing is going through that other thing. All right, let me know if you have any questions about this so far. So these are all the, what I might call just 1-star or basic physical uses of these different things. Hopefully this makes sense. Let's see, Greg says, a few times online I watched, but the last 3 programs recently are great. Thank you so much for teaching on this way. Here, actually, this is this is another good use of that. Thank you very much, Greg, but we'll talk about teaching in this way. So if we're talking about like the way in which you do something, that's a more figurative use of the word in. So the way in which you do that. So teaching in this way. So I might teach in a particular way, or I might do something in a particular way. All right. So you can think about it kind of being like a method of doing something, and I am inside that method figuratively. So here, again, that's a nice segue or a nice transition into this next column over here where we're comparing the physical uses with the more figurative uses of that. So the way I'm teaching, or I'm teaching in a certain way, I'm teaching in a certain way, but hopefully this will make sense over here and you'll understand, like, even though it's not a physical thing, we can still be kind of inside a particular style, like I do something in a particular style or in a particular way, or in even in like a certain feeling. Okay, so it's whatever that non-physical thing, I can still be inside that way in that same way. All right, I'm trying to use in these different ways, and hopefully you'll make the connection as we can compare these things. So I can be talking about teaching in this. So just like this ball is inside this little square, I can be inside a particular style. All right, so I can be doing something in a particular way. So what are some other things, pardon me as I drink some water, some other things we might use for in? What else might you be in right now? What are we doing right now? I could be in, like that, in a video. I could be in a class, a meeting. So class, a meeting. These are other things where we're not physically inside something, even if I'm meeting someone like that. But this is how we're talking about being figuratively inside something else. Pretty easy. All right. So when you think about that, like if you're you might have a bit of trouble. We'll kind of connect these over here. Yeah. So put yourself in my shoes. So that would be more of a like this last level, but we'll get there. But that's a good one. We'll put it up here for now. To put someone in your, or to be in someone else's shoes, that kind of thing. So that's a good example, but this is a higher level idiom or phrase that we might be talking about. But here, like let's say I'm talking about being inside of a meeting, so inside a meeting, but I would also talk about being on a call. So if I'm physically on the phone like now, like remember how we talked about something kind of being attached like that? You can think about it in the same way, like, oh, I'm like it's stuck, like the phone is on me, but I'm also on the phone. So I'm talking to someone on the phone. So this is why we also talk about having like being on a call, being on a call. All right. If I don't understand, if you have a question for me, let me know. I have a question for me. All right. So it's a little bit similar, but you can think about like on the way. Yep, that's another good example. So let's say I'm walking to a particular place. So here I am. We could imagine like a person like on a particular street. So I could be on the way. Or if I'm telling someone, yes, I'm on my way right now, like, are you coming to my house? And I say, yes, I'm on my way, or I'm on the way. Both of those are fine. I'm on the way to your house. I'm on my way to your house. So anytime, again, this is also a similar physical idea of being on a street or on a path or on a road. I can also be on a journey. All right, just like I have a figurative adventure or trip or something like that, so I'm on that thing. Okay, I'm on an adventure. You can think about it like being on a road or on a path in that way, but this is more of a like I'm on my kind of on my own, way of thinking, something like that. So on my own, that's another example. But it's just me kind of thinking about yourself, being by yourself or doing, being on a mission is the same kind of idea. So on a mission, Like me, I am on a mission to help people erase the doubt that stops them from speaking. All right, so every one of these little lessons I do, it tries to delete or destroy or erase a little bit more doubt. So on a call, on the way, on a mission, and rather than trying to remember all of these things individually, hopefully the point here is really to understand the way of thinking. So if you're thinking in this way, then you will be on a good road for getting fluent. Okay? If you're thinking in this way, like again, same kind of idea, like a certain way of thinking, like rather than thinking in some different way, you're thinking in this way. So thinking more like a native speaker and understanding the language the way a native does, and that's what helps you speak. All right, pretty easy so far. Let me see if I missed any questions. So good morning, says Tarek. Sunday of class, everyday class. Sunday of class, everyday class. I don't know what that's referring to. So today is Thursday. I think it's actually, it's Halloween in Japan now, 31st, I guess. Happy Halloween. Or if you're watching the World Series right now, instead, you guys should be watching the World Series instead of watching that. if any of you are fans of baseball out there. Well, Access 014 on a mission, so we had that one too. And Edwin also, it's on me. That's another really good figurative use of that. So here we're talking about like responsibility being placed on me. So like I'm carrying it, and this is where we could be talking about me taking responsibility for paying for something. Like if I go out to eat with a friend of mine and I say, oh, it's on me. That means I will be paying. The responsibility is on me to pay for that. But this is a shorter, very casual, and actually a very good way, even in business or professional situations, to talk about paying for something. So, oh, it's on me. It's on me. All right. But remember, in the same way, I can also talk about taking responsibility for anything like that. Like I could be talking about like the leadership of a team is on me. All right, so like I must become the leader. I must take responsibility to lead the team or teach or something like that. So it's on me to do that. All right, very useful phrase. But here you can think about like this is a figurative example, but the physical one, it's like the responsibility is on me. All right. Aria Future. Oh, that's my daughter's name, Aria. Love from Italy. Look at that. Is there any difference when I say I feel generous instead of what? I feel generous. Is there any difference when I say I feel generous instead of that? Or was there another question or comment? You're comparing that with something else? Let me know. Maybe I didn't get the first part of that somewhere. Let's see. Meinl says, I am working on that claim. I want to mention a specific work. Is the sentence correct? Working on that claim. Yes, like if you're talking about a claim like you're in insurance or something and like you're working on a particular thing, yes, you can work physically on something. Like that would be a more basic understanding of it. But I can also be working on a project. So you can think again, the same idea. It's like instead of a little ball, it's me like physically building something or fixing something or making something like that. So I am working on that thing. And it's interesting, like all of these things it's like one thing doing something to something else or affecting that in some way. So yes, you could say that. You could be working on a claim, like if that's a particular, like a police officer would work on a case, working on a case. Stay on the thinking, Drew advises. Yes, well, stay on, like if you're talking about a way of thinking, like to continue doing something, you would stay on that. Like if I'm talking about a particular line of thinking, I could talk about that in that same way. So if I say, like if I'm a lawyer and I'm trying to explain something in a court and I say, well, follow my line of thinking, like stay on this line of thinking. So if this thing happens, like I can imagine, make sure I fit this in here. So there's like a line of events that happens, like this thing happened and then this thing and then this thing. This is like a line of argument or a line of thinking. So say, oh, stay on this, like on this line of thinking with me. All right. No, don't tell me the score. New York is winning 4-0. Don't tell me what it is. I watch the highlights in the evening because I'm in Japan and I don't see the actual games while they're happening. I don't take the time to sit down and watch them. It'd be nice if I did, but I don't want to take like 3 hours and watch the whole thing. Hugo says, I improved my English a lot thanks to your videos, and thank you so much from Guatemala. Glad to hear it, Hugo. If you know other people we can help, please click the like button for this video and share it. And you can also tell people to click on the links in the description below this video to learn more about how we can help them. Abdu says, we can use on for days or month. Yes, you can talk about like if imagine this as a calendar. So we could have days of the week or months, something like that. So if I'm talking about doing something on a particular day, like on Friday, I might do something. But if we have a larger period of time, like a week, I usually talk about like on the week, on the third week or something like that. I could talk about that. I could say on the third week of November, like something is happening on the third week. Or I could be more specific, talking about a specific day, like in the third week of November, something is happening. So on the third week would be usually talking about the whole week. But if I'm talking about one day in a particular week, so like on the Monday, on the third Monday in November. All right. So we have the larger month. So in November, but on a particular day. So listen carefully when people are talking about that. But the basic idea is if we have a larger container, like a month, so in February, in March, in May, in June, in July, like my birthday is in September, but my birthday is on September 21st. Okay, send me a present. So if it's inside a particular month, but it's on a particular day. All right. So anytime we have like a range, like between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock, like I might be in class during that time. So I'm inside a physical class like that. Or I could be in the middle of doing something. But yes, when we're talking about dates and times, often we're using both in and on for that. But again, rather than trying to memorize that, as you get more examples, it will make more sense. Jose says, listening through your video, glad to hear it. Cynthia, hello, nice to see you. Of course, I will send you a gift, teacher. Well, thank you very much. Oh, Annette, oops, too late again. It's okay. There are no, I don't tell people exactly when these are going live. I just go live. So don't worry about it. But you can also just watch the replay anytime. Sorry, I heard someone saying it's on me if they pay for sort of food. Yes, so that's correct. So someone, if they are going to treat you or they are paying for the meal, they say it's on me. All right? So anytime I'm buying something for someone else, that's me saying I take responsibility for paying for that thing. In the same way that I would pay for, I don't know, I could really buy anything for anybody else. It's not just a meal, but I would say it's on me. But I can also talk about something being on me, like the responsibility for leading or the responsibility for doing something. Like if I'm a coach and I'm telling a team of people, okay, this is on you and that's on you. Like I want you to do these particular things. I'm giving you responsibility. So that responsibility is on you. So yes, Marco, like I am on it. Like I'm on it. I got it. So if you're in the army or something and a person says, hey, like go do this. Okay, I'm on it. Like I am on that thing. Like now, like I am on that. All right. So kind of like it's on me, but I am also on it in that same way. All right. But if you think about it logically, it's still the same basic idea as these more figurative or more physical uses of that. All right, good evening. Ivan says, I am from Brazil, learning every day, one step at a time. Glad to hear it. Yep, that's how it works. So just delete. If every day you feel like you removed some doubt or some more doubt from your thinking, whatever, about English, you will feel more confident about speaking. That's how it works. So the same thing for me learning Japanese. As I hear more examples of things, then I feel much more confident about how I'm able to say something. All right, let's move on here. So we've got over what might be a more physical, or we got the physical example over a more figurative, example from that. Pardon me as I get some water. Can you think of anything? Let's see. We would use your good videos to support our English teaching here in Chile. Well, fantastic. Yes, people use my videos all over the world. Oh, I am over you. Game over. Well, the game over. Look at that. And another happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. Yes. All right. So let's just take a physical example like this and look at a kind of similar thing like this. We can imagine just like, let's say, some parents over here. But mom and a dad, and we got like a little baby with like one curl hair over here. The parents are over the child, or the parents have authority over the child in that way. Okay, so even if they are obviously physically bigger than the child, or they can be physically over the child, but they also have authority over the child. Okay. Oh, novel with overtime. That's another good example. So that's another way to kind of extend this thinking. I'll get to that in a moment. Good example, though. So here again, like the parents are over the child figuratively. All right. Or instead of parents and child, you could have like a boss and some workers, like the boss is over the workers. Okay. So I have authority over something else. Oh, to overlook or oversee. Yes, some more good examples. Learning English through baseball. Glad to hear it. All right, so hopefully people get this idea. So something being over something else. Now we got that other example of not just being like, if you can imagine, let's say we have a line on the ground here and we have a ball on this side. I could also move the ball over the line and put it over here. Okay, so here we have a like one physical example. I didn't go over all of the physical examples, but another common physical example is like this, where we're talking about getting over a line, like getting over figuratively over the finish line. So I need to finish my project. I need to get my project over the finish line. Okay, so in a figurative way, we can use it the same way, move something from one thing over a particular thing. And this is where we get the idea of overtime. Overtime. Okay, so, or you could be also like oversleeping or overeating or overdoing anything. This is when we do something more than we should. So let's say this is talking about eating. So if I stop at this line, that's a good amount. But if I eat too much, I'm overeating. Or if I explain too much, I'm over-explaining. Okay? So doing something, I could talk over someone else, to talk over someone else. So if someone else is trying to talk, but now I'm speaking really loudly and trying to maybe make them be quiet, and I'm trying to say something, I'm having an argument with that person, I would be talking over that person. All right? So something is over, like you could also, I think somebody mentioned earlier about having like a relationship, like something being finished as well. Like it's the same kind of idea where the relationship is over. Now we are finished. Okay. So it's not exactly the same as this, but you can see how we might use a word like that since we talk about over as like moving over or crossing a particular line. Okay. It's pretty easy. I know underestimate, but do we also overestimate? Yes, that's a good way you can think about it. So to underestimate someone, we typically don't estimate people. I mean, we can say that like I as a joke, like I estimate that person, but typically it just means you judge them correctly. Or you can underestimate them, meaning you think they are weaker or less powerful or something, or you can overestimate something where you think it's too powerful or more, better or stronger or something like that. So I didn't want to cover like all of these, but as you understand these, we can think about their opposites and how we might use those. So if we talk about over something like this ball, we could put it down here and the ball is under the box. So over versus under. Same thing. Like you could be, we don't usually talk about under time for working because it's really just time that you're paying a regular working amount. Like maybe you have 40 hours a week that you work, but if you work more than that, so if you cross this line here and you go over that, then you have overtime hours. But before this, it's just regular time. Okay. Another word or another term for this overtime is time and a half. So maybe you get paid time and a half for that. So if you get $10 an hour for regular hours, if you work overtime, you can get $15. So that's time and a half of that. That settled any disputes over goals. What does over goals mean in this sentence? If we're talking about like the focus is on goals, then you might use that. So it's a synonym for about. So you could say that settled any disputes about goals, or that settled any disputes about land or over this thing. It's kind of, we are talking about a particular thing. So right now we are over this, or you could also often hear people say we are covering a particular topic right now. So think about like a cloud moving. So the cloud is right now it's over here and maybe the rain, so there's no cloud over this hand. But now we're moving, the cloud is over this hand and the cloud is covering the hand as well. So that's a physical use of that, but a more figurative use in the same way is when we're talking about something. So right now we're discussing this thing, but now we're discussing this thing. So we're covering this topic and now we're covering this topic. Or we're over this topic right now, or we're on or over this topic, or talking about that thing. So all of those are fine. Remember, there are different ways of expressing things, and that's another thing that should give you confidence in real conversations because there are many ways to express yourself. You don't have to think, oh no, what is that one specific way to say something? There are always different ways of expressing things. And so I talk about this in Speak Like Me, which is moving like water, not worrying about a particular phrase, because even natives, when they're talking, they might be thinking, oh no, is that word correct? Or they're writing something and they don't know about the spelling of something, so they pick a different way to say it. But natives are very quick at doing this, so you don't really notice them doing it. Let's see. And Ivan says, how about me that understand everything you say but struggling at speaking? What about it, Ivan? Do you have a particular question about that? Most of the videos I talk about, you should watch the recent video I did talking about the biggest mistake English learners make. So I'm writing a book also right now, and I'm putting that that's a big like a big thing I discovered about learning. It was a mistake I was making, and it is a mistake I've seen people continue to make and still make for the past 20 years. So if you can not make this mistake anymore, you will become a confident speaker very quickly, because the big mistake people make, you should watch the video for more information about that. But the simple idea is that there are different levels of understanding, and it really comes from how much doubt you feel about something. So as I'm trying to give more examples and more detailed things about, like, let's say using the word in, I want to help you understand it in many different ways so that you will feel more confident and remove doubt about using the word in and understand it as well. So they're basically different levels of doubt that when you understand something really well, it will be easier for you to say that thing, but you have to remove all the doubt to do that, if that makes sense. But you just watch that video. So I want to I want you to understand the whole idea, but the basic idea where I talk about that is that if you can understand me, but you still can't speak, it means there's some kind of doubt there, and you probably need more exposure to the language, or more exposure especially to native examples of the language. So not just listening to teachers, you need to hear lots of varied examples, what I call naturally varied review, and that's what's going to get you fluent. Let's see, Satish says, when will it be published? Estimated date? I don't have a date. Also, it will be digital. I'll see how it does. I might release a physical version of it as well. But I want to start with the digital version because that's easy for me to publish, and I don't have to think about it. I can just release it immediately on my site when I'm finished with it. But a lot of the ideas in the book are coming from my own experience getting fluent, but also like a lot of the things that I talk about. But it's easy for me to explain those things in a book and go into detail and, you know, use some pictures and better illustrations than how I'm drawing over here. Let's see, the finder says, understanding that gets you fluent and not repeating as you always say, and I agree 100%. Yeah, so understanding, the basic idea is removing doubt. So you should get fluent first, meaning you should have no doubt about things before you use them. Often people have lots of doubts and still try to speak anyway, and that's causing them a lot of difficulty and frustration, and they feel obviously mentally it's frustrating to do that, and you think I'm kind of learning more but not becoming more fluent. There are lots of problems with that, but the nice thing about this approach is that you don't have to force yourself to speak before you're ready. You actually spend your time learning more, understanding the language better, and that's what gets you fluent. So instead of worrying about forcing yourself to speak, if you have the typical problem, pretty much every video like this has somebody asking that question about, hey Drew, I can understand what you're saying, but I can't understand natives, or I can understand what you say, but I still have trouble speaking. That's the problem. Okay, so they haven't, you could call it the fluency gap, but it's basically the difference between knowing English or being able to understand a teacher and actually using that information fluently and confidently. So the way you get across that, or to kind of close that gap, or to put something there as a step between the knowledge and the usage of it, is the naturally varied review and the understanding of the language. So if you remove the doubt, then you will feel much more confident when you do have speaking situations. All right, Tarek says, sir, what exactly is the difference between in and inside? Let's see, inside and in, it would be more situationally if there was a difference. I'm trying to think of a situation where we could use in but not inside. But it's basically the same thing. I'm trying to think of a situation where, if I think of a situation where I would say in but not inside, inside typically is used more for physical things. because I wouldn't be talking about like inside my class, like as a figurative idea. I just talk about being in the class. But the side of it's like talking about inside versus outside something. But then again, we do talk about like outside of something. Outside is much more commonly used figuratively than inside is, because I can't really think of something where we could use inside but not in. Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing. I wouldn't worry about it. All right, let's see. Abai says, is it like the particle ni and de in Japanese? Yeah, I mean, the way particles work in Japanese, it's a little bit different from English, and this is a tricky thing for learners of both languages trying to learn the opposite language, because like in English, the word in has a particular meaning. It's not like a particle that changes the meaning of the word before it. So in Japanese, I could have like doko doko de and doko doko ni, but that way, like I'm using that as like a way of changing the meaning of doko rather than like the particle having meaning by itself, if that makes sense. It's almost like if you were to look at the Japanese language kind of in colors, like each word would be a different color for a different part of speech. The particle that comes after a word, it just changes the color of that, if that makes sense. But so it's similar, it's related to that, but in English, these words actually have specific meaning about something by themselves, but in Japanese it's more attaching that meaning to a particular word. So it's a slight difference, but you can think about them similarly. English at Night says, picture books are so useful. I can understand all these prepositions, but sometimes I struggle in the ones that are used in a figurative way. Yeah, so that's why we want to give you some examples of that so you can see more of these. But as you really understand the figurative examples from seeing lots of examples of the physical examples, if that makes sense. So the more physical examples you get, the easier it becomes when you do hear those figurative examples as well. So just keep getting examples, and if you can get them in a structured way, like I'm doing in this video, you will feel more confident about using them. So Ivan says, my question is, when constructing the sentence, even though I understand it, sometimes I use the translator to write. Yeah, so that means you're not yet confident about what you want to say. You know, that happens. So if you feel doubt about particular parts of the sentence, maybe you feel sure about some grammar or vocabulary, but you're not sure about something else, then that's the problem you need to solve. So you need to destroy or erase the doubt. So inside is for closed areas, not necessarily. I mean, I could have even an open area like this and still be like inside. I could be in or inside this area. But native speakers would use both of those. So it's not an important difference. If I think of one, I don't know, ask ChatGPT or ask Google. But as like for regular native speakers thinking about that, I can't think of a situation where I could only use in. And I might even, if I'm talking with ChatGPT, I might argue with ChatGPT about that. And sometimes ChatGPT will be wrong about examples that it gives. But let's see, Tarek says, thank you, sir, glad to hear. Rob says, hi, are you into private tutoring? Am I into that? You mean like, do I enjoy that, private tutoring? Well, we don't offer private tutoring because it's not really the best use of your time as a learner. Not only are you not learning enough examples from one person, but it's much better to spend your time getting lots of different examples about the kinds of things you want to talk about. So if I want to get fluent in Japanese, I might have a teacher that could maybe explain some things to me and give me examples, but it would still be one teacher with one voice. And I need many examples with many voices in order to really prepare for real communication. Because one person, I will learn to understand a teacher, but still not like understand other teachers very well. And I, like me personally, for learning, I don't use any software for learning, or like I think somebody just mentioned italki or something like that. But I don't use any of that because I want actual examples from native speakers. So one of the interesting things you do when you see examples is it's like immediately implementable in my conversations. So if I learn something, I might hear a person say, like, I remember this example, like to talk about a percentage of something in Japanese, you could say like nan percento. You could say that in a conversation. But another way to say that I heard it was like nanwari. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a really interesting way to say that instead. So I learned that from seeing an actual native use that in context. And I think, look at that. I just learned that thing. I didn't speak anything. I didn't repeat after the teacher or anything. I just saw an example of somebody speaking like that. And then I was immediately able to implement that. So part of the reason people, like there's kind of a learning phase and a practice phase in traditional learning is because you're getting a few examples from a teacher, but you don't really know how natives are going to use those things. A teacher might say, hello, how are you? But then in a real conversation, a native says something different, or their pronunciation is different, whatever. So you need to spend more time getting examples from natives, and if you do that, you will feel much better or more confident that that's what natives really say. So you want to get everything like all together, the vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, and you get all of that from native examples rather than just, usually they are separated in like a typical lesson, if that makes sense. So you might be having like a class, okay, today class we're going to learn pronunciation, but learning pronunciation of individual words is going to be different from how people pronounce them together in a regular conversation. All right. Let's see. I joined late, so I don't understand now what you're talking about. Well, you can go back and watch the video later. Rafa again says, are your children bilingual? Could you rate their English skills? Do they have a foreign accent? They do not have an accent. They speak both Japanese and English. Like it's like talking to two different people. So they can both speak English and Japanese well. Their English is not as good as their Japanese just because they get way more exposure to Japanese in everyday life. But because I know how to teach them well, I can get them fluent faster and help them understand things and learn things in a smaller amount of time. All right, so I don't need to spend years trying to train them. I know, like the same way I'm doing things like this, I do that at home. So that's the same thing I do to help them learn English as well. Ricky says, nice class. Thank you for the hard work. It's my pleasure. Do click the like button if you are enjoying it. Marceliana is back. Hello. From Brazil. God bless you. Well, God bless you too. All right, and Diamonds 47. Hi, I'm from Tokyo, Japan. The ruling party did not win over half of the seats in the recent election. The ruling party. Yes, I like that. Yes, it's voting season right now in Japan, and it's also very noisy. If you don't know about this, these are usually like people who are running for election. They drive around in little trucks and they make lots of noise and like vote for me and like Gamare Nippon. You know, we gotta like make Japan make Japan great again. But yeah, also we have a new prime minister. It's like the third prime minister in, I don't know, what was it, 4 years or something like that. It's pretty, I don't know if people are kind of embarrassed about that, but I could say I'm in, meaning that I agree with your plan, but I cannot say I'm inside. Yeah, I get, yeah, so here that's an example of like a figurative thing being in something because I'm in that. But I could also be talking about like I'm on the inside of a plan, or we could talk about even it was an inside job rather than like an in job. So there oftentimes you could give me an example and I could probably give you a counter example where you could use both words. So I wouldn't spend much time trying to worry about that. What you do is get lots of examples of it, and then that's going to teach you and give you a sense for what's correct. So do more of that. Grammar or dialogues is better. Grammar or dialogues is better. Well, the point is to learn grammar, but you don't want to learn it by just trying to study or memorize rules. The point is to understand the grammar in context so that you don't need to think about rules or translate in your head when you speak. So that's why we're kind of going through things like this, but I'm doing a combination of showing you things in a structured way, but also giving you native examples and also giving you examples of more contextual like times when people might be using particular words or grammar. But as far as like dialogues or whatever, you can get both. I mean, a person, you just want to get English that helps you eliminate the doubt, but it should be real examples. It could be one native speaker talking by themselves, or it could be a dialogue, or it could be a group of people speaking. English at night, it would have been taught real English at school instead of, it would have been taught real. You mean like you wish you would have been, or you wish you would have been taught that? Yeah, well, like I'm trying to change that and make it possible for people to learn the way they, that would actually help them understand the language like a native and speak fluently. But most schools are not designed to do that. They don't care if you become a good speaker or not. Their goal is really just to help you pass a test, and it's usually a written test. So it doesn't matter if you become a good speaker or not. That's why most people don't know about the stuff that I teach. I'll be talking about that in the book as well. Fin part, what is the difference between in the job and at the job? So usually in a particular job is like I work as a particular thing. So in my job as a teacher, or in my job at the office, or in my job at McDonald's. So here I'm talking about in my job at McDonald's. I can talk about like working for a particular place, or working at a physical location. So in my job, like in my construction job, I work at particular job sites. So in my job, like as a construction worker, I work at particular places. Okay? And that's just one meaning of that. Like I could also say I'm working hard at doing something, but it's like me applying something to something else, or being on a particular place, a particular location where I might do something. All right, let's go get through this example over here, get through this. And so that is a one figurative example. Like right now, we are getting through, or I'm trying to get information through to you, like from my mouth into your ears, into your brain to help you understand something. Yes, so you could physically go through some woods, like you could be walking like through, instead of a ball going through a tunnel, this could be a person walking through some, put some trees over here, something. It's the same physical idea, but here we have the figurative idea of going through some kind of trauma or going through an experience, but it's the same kind of thing. It's just non-physical, okay? So you can think about through something, or also you can talk about being like through, like finishing it at the same time. So if I go through a tunnel, it could mean I'm in the middle of that thing, or like I just went through that tunnel. To get, get across is another example of that, where I'm trying to communicate something just like a physical thing, like to get something across a bridge from me to you, that I'm trying to get something figuratively, like an idea, across from me to you. So hopefully that's getting across in this video. But it's the same basic idea. It's just more of a non-physical or figurative meaning of that. Okay, those words are very useful. Physical and figurative. So I'm talking about something, maybe you can't see it, but you understand that it's happening. So I could be going through right now, I'm trying to teach you through a particular process, or I'm using a process or doing something like to put you through some way of understanding, so that you remove any doubt that stops you from speaking. All right, is this getting through to you? So it's like kind of getting through the air or through the computer. Yes, so if you want to get through your problems, that's another thing, like you need to fight through something. Sometimes you can go around something, but you could also go through that object. So going through doesn't necessarily mean like a bad thing, like like I went through like a really fun experience, or I went through a haunted house or something like that for Halloween. But you could also be talking, like typically when you hear people talk about going through something, it's usually like a more difficult or frustrating or possibly negative thing, like going through a divorce. People don't really go through a wedding, they go through a divorce though. So I'm like, oh, I went through a wedding over the weekend. People don't say that, but they do talk about going through a divorce like it's a painful process. Yes, I'm through. So if you talk about I'm through, Ackland with a good example over there, like I'm through, I'm done. All right. I'm lost through my thoughts. I can notice a lot of information through watching your videos. Yes. So you can say, I can notice because you're talking about it in general. Or if you're talking about the past, you would say, I noticed a lot of videos, or excuse me, I noticed a lot watching your videos. But if you're talking generally, I notice, or I can notice a lot of information. All right, or I can learn a lot through watching your videos. So yes, that's another good figurative example. Yeah, so go through and get through, those are both the same thing. It's just, yeah, we're talking about the kind of motion from one thing to another with go, but with get, it's more like taking a position in another place. So like to go through is like the movement, the complete movement, but get is like kind of like jumping from here to get something. Like if I get a present, it's just like from that person to me. We're not really talking about how the present goes to somebody. It's just, it came to me. Now I have that thing, to get something. So in that case, that's an example of when you could use both of those. Like right now I'm going through a divorce, or I'm trying to get through something. So if you want to talk about being in the middle of something, it's typically like I'm trying to get through. So I want to like go from here to this thing, or get from this place to this place. So get this position, or get done with something, to get finished. So I want to, that's the meaning of get, where we're basically moving from one place to another, or it's a transfer in some way. So it's very similar to go. But yes, you can use both of those expressions. Well, Ilda says, what's going on, Drew? What's going on? Well, I'm going through some examples. I'm going through some examples right now to help people understand through. And these other prepositions over here. Greg, how about learning English through your videos? Yes, so you could learn English through. That'd be another good kind of, it's like a combination of physical and non-physical as well. Let's see. My wife was always with me through thick and thin. That's right. Another good example of that. So when you're talking about going through examples, or going through life, or going through experiences, you can talk about good times or bad times, but you're still moving through that, like the passage of time. All right, like we are going through space, or going through life, just like I could go through a room or go through a tunnel. Same idea. Let's see. You're right. Through and through. Very good. Look at you guys. Lots of useful examples over here. Okay, we already talked about in, like another example of putting someone in your shoes. You can probably think of some other things, like one thing, like, you know, usually like one thing could go with something else, like in, I'm trying to think about it, like a specific. So if you put, let me see. Actually, I wrote, yeah, let me see here. I wrote down actually a bunch. I was seeing if anybody has, like in the long run, we could talk about that as well. Here, use my red. In the long run. So maybe we're talking about, this is another common phrase you'll hear. So in the long run, or in the long term, it just means maybe immediately, like if we spend some money as a business, maybe we won't like make any profit now, but in the long run, hopefully we should. So that's the plan. So to be in the long run rather than like talking about right now. But again, it's still more talking about a period of time, and then inside that, or in that period of time. So not the short run, but maybe the long run, or in the long term, we'll have like the ability to do something in the long run or in the long term. All right, another physical example that's also a figurative example is like to be, I'm just going to draw a picture of this here, to be on the ball, on the ball. When someone is on the ball, it means they're actually very competent, they're good at doing something, and you can just say, oh, that person is really on the ball. So if I ask some of my, I don't know, staff to help me, say, hey, can you please do this? And they go out and do it, and I say, wow, you did that very well and very quickly. You are really on the ball, on the ball. So similar kind of thing here. We're just trying to get to more, and rather than teach you like a bunch of these, hopefully you will, as you hear more examples of them, you will start to feel more confident and understand why we would say something like on the ball rather than being, kind of inside it. But here, this example is like someone having to be pretty skillful because they're staying like able to stand on top of a ball like that. On a roll is another good example. So on a roll, it's like you can think about actually this ball rolling in a particular way, but something is it's moving, so something is on a roll, and there's some kind of progress happening. So often when we start something, trying to get a project started, even like pushing a little marker or something like that, it takes a bit more effort at first to get it started, to get the ball rolling. But when we've got the ball rolling, now we are on a roll. So okay, now things are continuing to move, and the motion or the action is a lot easier that way. To be on a roll, I'm on a roll. Look at that. Any other good examples? On the fly. Yeah, that's another good example. To get something on the fly or to be able to speak or do something on the fly, it just means without any kind of preparation for it. So right now, like all of these live videos I do, it's basically, I have a little bit of preparation, like I have some notes if I need to check that, but most of my speech or examples are on the fly, on the fly. And I also get help like that from good examples from you. So if I have like a good, example that I think of, just on the fly, I might use that instead, on the fly. On the fly. So you can think about on the fly as like while I'm moving. Yeah. On air. Yeah, that's another kind of example. It could be a combination of physical and figurative as well. Jefferson says, hello, and this live will end in 20 minutes. I don't know. Maybe it will end sooner than that. We'll see. I don't have a particular time when they begin or when they end. What time is it here? 10:42. Well, I don't have my computer cable with me today, so I moved to a new house. So I have like two places right now, and I still have stuff in some locations, and so I'm not in a good, I don't know, like when you move and you have some stuff in different locations. Things are kind of up in the air right now. So if I might forget something, it's not my daily routine. I'm not on schedule like I should usually be. So things are a bit up in the air, like I don't know what's happening. Anyway, so I think the lesson is going to finish faster than that, but we'll see. Jefferson says, I just got back from work, and Carlos says, a cool beard. Yes, I will probably shave it off very soon because I don't know if I'm a beard guy or not, but I think I'll shave it off pretty soon. I just felt like, I don't know, like I'm kind of transitioning to a new house, and I was a bit lazy, so forgive me. I try to clean it up a little bit for you, to clean it up, like line it up a little bit better for you all out there. Edwin says, when I am, so you would say when I am using public transport service, I'm going in a car, in a bus, on a plane. Yeah, so you could be talking about like I'm on a bus, like to be riding it or whatever, but I'm also like inside a particular thing. So you could use both of those. I know like people talk about like there's a specific word you should use, like use on for a plane and use in for whatever, like in a car. But I could, as a native and a person who knows how to use the language well, like I'm not worried about rules like that. And if I see a rule like that, I'm going to try to break that rule and see if it could be broken or expressed in a different way. So like, yes, you could say like I'm physically on an airplane right now, but I could be like on the top of the airplane or inside the airplane and still be on the airplane for both of those examples. But I could also be in the airplane, like, oh, I'm talking to my wife, hey, I'm in an airplane right now. Like I'm inside an airplane right now. I'm in the airplane. Okay. So if my wife is like, where are you? I'll like, oh, I'm in the airplane. Like if she's, standing next to the airplane or something like that looking for me. So the point is not to think like, okay, if you hear airplane, then you use on. It's just think about it like a native, and there are usually many ways you could express something. So try not to worry too much about that. Let's see, English at night. Thank you for teaching. I'll have to go to work soon, and I'll review this video again. Okay, I make my day a good day. Yes, there you go. Carlos says, like the fact that your lessons went more visual, that makes it more illustrative. Great job, Drew. Yes, well, some videos are, I might be giving more examples like physical. Usually there's some kind of, illustrations, even bad illustrations, but it depends. But I like to give illustrations, like for Frederick, the app. So we made, I don't know, how is it, like 8,000 different images for that game. I can't believe, and I actually drew a lot of those, like physically drew them, because it's important to have those. So if you want to see all of the images and see different images with the app, then click on those. But it will teach you a lot of this same kind of vocabulary, help you understand them, but there are images for all of those. If you click on the link in the description for Frederick, you can get that. I'm using X says, come on, dude. Yes, that's another word you could use on. The finest is the beard actually looks good on you. I don't know why Japanese people don't like beards. I thought all women loved a beard on a man. Actually, I don't know. Well, in Japanese, or in Japan, I should say, like I look more like a criminal. Especially there's a kind of like the dorobo, like the kind of thief looking guy where you have I gotta draw it with it's not like a full beard. Usually Japanese people don't have like a full beard. They might have some kind of thing. I have my barber. he has he has like a really kind of like thin mustache, and he can't really grow much hair. So it's like 20 hairs on his beard. So some people just can't really grow a beard, and you get less of that in Japan. But there's the kind of like robber, he's got like a kind of, it just goes around like that. It's not a full beard, but so it goes around his face like that. So my wife will tell me that I look kind of like a criminal if I do that. But let's see, 21 audio. I'm on 15 minutes. I think I used it correctly. I'm on 15 minutes. What do you mean you're on 15 minutes? 15. Is that what you mean? 15 minutes? You didn't write minutes there, but I'm on 15 minutes. Like I'm on in 15 minutes. Like if you're doing something like 15 minutes from now, then that would be correct. So hop on, hop off. Is it right to use these expressions for a bus? Yes, you can hop on the bus or hop off the bus or get on or get off. A goatee, yes. So you could have this kind of like Japanese criminal beard. So you can come on later, that's true. All right, well, let's finish this up. Can you think of anything over? So using some expressions with over, I'll give you a moment to do those before doing something. And it's similar here, like I talked about those, like you're having authority over someone else, like, or to get something over on, that's actually you're using like both over and on, like to get, I'll put this up here just because it's an interesting example. Like to get over on someone. So like to get over on someone is like usually to trick them or to play some kind of joke or something. So if my dad, I don't know, he comes home and I take all like the furniture out of the house or something, and he's like, oh no, we've been robbed, like I'm the thief, the robber. But I say, no, it's actually, it was just a joke, and I kind of got something. I kind of got one over on him, like I was able to trick him in some way. So I got one, or got a joke, or got a trick over on him. So it's like I got over him or tricked him in some way. Okay. Sievish says, thank you, Drew. Your way learning English is a masterpiece. Well, click that like button and tell other people about it. Look at that, Annette. Oh no, I got to sneeze. I got to sneeze. Ah. Oh, that went away. Maybe it'll come back. It'll just kind of come back suddenly like that. But you could also be over someone as well, like I'm getting over someone, or I'm over that particular thing. It's a similar idea to crossing a line like that. So like I used to be dating someone, and then we broke up, so we separated. We're not dating anymore, but I was still, you know, you have that kind of time after you break up with someone. Maybe you're still thinking about them or whatever, but now I'm over that person. I'm over that person. All right. We're going to have to do this quickly before my computer dies. But to get something over on someone else, or to be over a particular thing, is like you're finished with that. All right. And then getting through, you can probably think of some examples with that. Like, I'll just give you one quick one over here. Through, thick, and thin, which we got earlier, but that's a good one to write down. So to go through thick and thin, if you physically thinking about this idea, if you imagine an experience, like sometimes are good and sometimes are not so good, and sometimes maybe are a little bit good, and then sometimes, wow, things are like really good. So this is the idea of going through thick and thin with someone. So you go through good times or hard times, like it's kind of hard to do things, to go through thick and thin. I think it means that you have a certain amount of time and it ends at 9 p.m. Yeah, like the YouTube live doesn't work like that. But because we could, I think, I don't know, I could talk forever. You know, I could potentially get rid of the sneeze, or it's over. It's over now. I guess I thought I got rid of it. Anyway, I don't have more time to go into these, but it's more important if you spend time getting lots of examples of this, then it becomes a lot easier to get understanding of these things over here. All right? Like ups and downs, yes, same kind of idea. Remember, there are always lots of different ways we can express ourselves, so we can talk about going through ups and downs, or thick and thin, or good times and bad times. Same kind of idea. All right? But as you get more examples and see how they all connect and work together, it develops your fluency much faster. All right? When you say she's on time, it's the meaning of she is too late. No, it means she's like right when she should be there, to be on time. All right, well, my computer is about to shut down on me, so I'm going to have to shut down this video, but hopefully you have enjoyed it. If you have, or if you are late, go back and watch the video, enjoy it anyway, and then maybe you can watch the wrap up of the World Series. We'll see how they're doing. Hopefully it goes to 7 games. If don't tell me what the score is if you know already. But hopefully, if you have enjoyed this, do click the like button. If you would like to get a lot more training like this, and also see lots of examples of real natives doing these things and talking about these things in a structured way that gets you fluent automatically, you can learn more about Fluent for Life by clicking on the link in this video. I'll have more information about my book that's coming out soon if people would like to get that. It'll be digital at first. Maybe we'll make a physical copy as well, but more information about that coming soon as well. But thank you all for the support, all the great ideas. People have enjoyed samples of the book so far, and I'm excited to release it for everyone. It's been like 20 years thinking about these ideas, and I'm glad to finally have a whole thing that'll make all of this process very simple for people. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.